Well, welcome back to another super exciting episode of Voices of Video. And as always, we are hosting conversations with the movers and the shakers and those companies and those individuals who are building the stuff, deploying the technology. They're really, in the middle of where the streaming industry, where video production, but especially video delivery is headed. And today I am joined by Dom Mrakuzic from Advantech. And first of all, Dom, I want to say welcome to Voices of Video.
Hey, Mark, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to talk about video innovation.
Yeah, absolutely. Our two companies are a little newer working together. We showed something very exciting at NAB, but I don't want to jump ahead to talk about this new server product. We'll get there. Maybe you can introduce Advantech. I'm not sure all of our audience knows exactly what you do, although they probably use your products, so they just don't know it.
Absolutely. So let me introduce myself. My name is Dom Mrakuzic. I'm a key account manager at Advantech, and I'm predominantly working with OEMs and solution providers in the broadcasting, Pro AV, and medical platforms. To summarize Advantech is an industrial PC manufacturer. So we don't build just boxes, we build purpose-built appliances that are wrapped around encoding, streaming, and video delivery platforms. And we work with tons of solution providers, and we work with silicons, or actually we work with powerful silicons like NETINT to deliver a final system for our customers. We've been in this industry for a very long time. I will just say that Advantech has been around for over 40 years. We do consider ourselves as an expert in the video space. We work with legacy type of systems. We are now championing this edge AI or video on the edge, which is a new trend. So we're bringing tons of expertise to the real customer problems.
Yeah. Yeah, we got acquainted. Of course, I've known of Advantech for many, many years. I know with what you guys do, you can't exactly name the products that you build, but it has someone else's brand or name on it. But really rest assured that I think everyone who's listening to this episode is using one of your products. Somewhere in their workflow.
Well, that's a good. You've said, we're a brand behind a brand, right?
That's right. Yeah.
We're not just a box manufacturer. We are a solution provider, end-to-end solutions. Right. So that means bringing technologies together, combining the hardware with the firmware and software to deliver a tailored, long-life solution for edge computing.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, today I want to focus our conversation on a product that we have brought to market together called the Quadra Mini Server. And maybe, it might be interesting from your perspective, Dom, to tell the story of how this even came to be, because I know it was a little bit of a joint project from the perspective that you had the vision. I think you had a customer or two with some very specific requirements. You met NETINT and learned about the VPU. We looked at what you're doing and together looked at each other and said, this thing needs to exist. So what was the genesis, the story of the Quadra Mini Server?
Right. So, as I mentioned, Advantech builds purpose-built appliances, and we are very vertically driven. So we have teams, product teams, and sales teams that are focused on the video vertical, which is broadcasting and Pro AV. And what we've seen, we try to design solutions, not just a cookie cutter box, but we try to design solutions that somewhat will be meeting the customer specific application. And then we have an ability to customize. So what we've seen is that customers are looking typically to do three things, and I mentioned it. They're trying to either reduce the footprint of their product or solution, so not every application allows a rack mount system. The second is they're trying to reduce the cost, right? The cost per stream is how they measure the output. And then the third thing is to everybody wants to increase performance. So how can we get more on the edge um, with not exploding our bill of materials? So our product teams were designing these half rack appliances. We called it Vega. Vega 6321 is the model number that is designed to have video outputs, so to have what we need in terms of IOs, but also to have somewhat designed to allow plugging PCI cards for video acceleration or M.2 cards. So we had a design for this box to meet a need of a small footprint, half rack, short depth appliance that can be either used in a rack or can be used on a desktop. And fast forward, when we were designing this solution, we met NETINT through, we're kind of have mutual customers, and we've learned about the new T1M card that was coming out, and a little bit of skeptical because what the data sheet says it can be done is not what you trust at first. But our teams, we kind of collaborated. We got some samples, early samples on hand in Taiwan. Vice versa, we gave you our sample box to test. And this is the beauty of how Advantech works, right? We tested the card and actually it does everything that you want it to do in terms of video processing. But it's also a unique form factor. So it has a little bit more width to it. It has a power consumption that we needed to test internally to provide some customization to adapt to it. So this box coming out, it's not just, an off-the-shelf box. It does wrap around your product to make sure it works and it performs in the environment. So this took about, I think, 6 months by the time we started working on it and bring it to market. I would say NAB was kind of, brought to market, launched. So if you think about from a time to market standpoint, it's a very short time to have, a concept in mind and then a finished solution that is ready to be deployed.
Yeah, it's really an exciting box. And, of course, we'll link up in the show notes and, wherever else that this episode gets published to the product page, because if you haven't seen this, this is a very compact 1RU height, so half rack width, compact box that is absolutely ideal for sports stadiums, any sort of on-premise streaming application where as more and more of live streaming architectures are transforming from instead of sending a contribution feed up into the cloud, performing transcoding, packaging everything in the cloud, and then distributing it. More and more, we're seeing a lot of these architectures where that whole process is being done on premise. It's being done in the stadium. Maybe not all of it. There might still be some ad stitching, or maybe there's still the packaging and DRM process that may need to happen in the cloud, but all the ABR ladders are created, on premise. This little box produces a very, very high quality, broadcast quality video stream delivery solution, and it just sips power. It's very, very low power consumption, just really ideal. So yeah, so Dom, you referenced, and you have the same problem we have. We have to very loosely refer to our customers because generally confidentiality agreements, and in some cases the fact that they're using our our respective hardware solutions is a competitive advantage. So they don't really want to tell everybody
Right.
that the reason why they can deliver such high quality video to 300 million subscribers or whatever is because they're using, NetInt VPUs. But maybe you can characterize just from a use case or an application perspective, how is a solution like this, being used, and, maybe give the backstory, because you're right, we have shared customers, and that's of course how we initially got introduced. But there was a groundswell of interest in this, and I know you guys were really looking for a solution, and but needed the encoding piece. So
Right.
what's the
So,
backstory there?
the backstory would be, so Advantech is, we have what we call the ecosystem of technology partners, right? So these are
Mhm.
all big typical names from the CPU side, silicon providers, but we are always looking to provide a leading edge. So the fact that NetInt is coming along with a VPU, which not a lot of people are familiar with, right?
Mhm.
This is what we felt is the right choice for Advantech to bring into our ecosystem to
Mhm.
compete. So if we go, and when we say compete, right, we need to be competitive, or provide a competitive solution to our customer to get them to work, for them to be competitive and ultimately work with us, right? So
Yeah.
everything at the end is an equation. And what we said, what I mentioned in the beginning, is three things are driving kind of the industry and driving us towards this type of solution. So one thing is, and I'll get to the last point first. So one thing is the video quality, right? We see the video quality is improving, in the sense, the delivery of 4K video is now becoming standard, and
Yeah.
but most important, not just delivery of 4K video. The video needs to be, when it's live streamed, needs to be at almost zero latency, or
Mhm.
that's some sort of an expectation. So that kind of drives the second point, which is, well, we're going away from the cloud to edge processing. Right? The more we can
Mhm.
do on the edge, the faster we'll be.
Mhm.
So that's the second part of the equation. Now, when we're doing things at the edge, it's not every application is suitable for a server room. Right?
Mhm.
And we see now that, especially in the streaming space, when you have somewhat on on premise type of broadcasting or streaming, there needs to be a
Mhm.
compact way to deliver this solution. So
Mhm.
going from to the edge, now we also need to be reducing the size of the solution, um, and that means we're stepping away from a CPU plus GPU type of solution to deliver
Yeah.
the video quality. We're now moving towards a VPU. Now,
Yeah.
the beauty of your VPU is not just it's powerful and it gives us the video quality we need, its footprint is really small. So we can actually take this card, which is, if people are not familiar, it's in an M.2 form factor. We can put it in a very small box, um, optimize the thermals around it, and that box can be deployed within, a stadium, or van, somewhere in the field, even going to a server room to deliver the video processing. Now, when
Mhm.
you open this kind of uh, uh, space for video processing, then we start seeing more and more applications, not just in the broadcast space. We see applications in, we didn't mention it, in surveillance, right? When we have these systems that are not your typical, Fort Knox buildings that have a server room in the back and cameras connected to it. It needs to be
Yeah.
a compact, um, maybe a desktop device that will have the connections to the IOs, that, speaking generically, to cameras that we need to connect,
Yeah.
to process the video and then have an output to control
Yeah.
some access or so on. So that's kind of, I hope I wasn't too long in my answer, but that kind of transition from what is driving, we need to remain the quality, we need to be accessible in on the edge, and we need support in terms of architecture, that's how the solution is being created. And to be fair, just one last point. Uh, we are doing this with our customers, and I think you can attest to that. It's not that this solution is just a product of Advantech with our ecosystem partners, and then we're translating it into the market. We're
Yeah.
taking live feedback from our customers, because Advantech is very very versed in ODM, or original
Mhm.
design manufacturing. We do a lot of
Mhm.
a design based on our customers' requirements. So
Mhm.
these type of applications are somewhat a synergy of, hey, we have some designs that are
Right.
pre concept, but with our expertise and their feedback from the real world, we can
Yeah.
design you know additional appliances. So that's the
Yeah.
beauty of this.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point. And I'm glad you just said what you said, because a lot of products get built out of obviously there's some germ of an idea, which probably comes from the market, comes from some customer request, or there's some observation that a company has. They say, hey, this thing should exist, and then they go off and build it, and then after it's built, they're out trying to figure out, okay, how do we sell this. um, this is very much a product that came 100% on the back of real customer application, real customer requirements. Part of the reason that I really want to emphasize that point is that there are other hardware solutions in the market. There's other approaches. There's even much more compact boxes that are, quite small. Might have a couple HDMI connectors on it. They're usually built around literally the SoCs that come out of cell phones. I know one particular company that makes a very compact little box. It's fairly cost effective, but it's an SoC out of a cell phone, which for certain applications might be perfect. If I need to stream my local, school's PTA meeting, and I just need a really simple encoder, that's a great solution. But that's not what this is. This is a full production distribution encoder in a box, in a very compact box. And this is designed for that next level of event. Whether it be a sporting event, or whether it be just, some live event, a concert where quality absolutely has to be held at a premium, at a high level. But the footprint needs to be small, the power draw needs to be small. Obviously there is a cost component, because this is still a quite cost effective solution. So I really wanted to highlight that fact that this isn't Advantech and NETINT coming together to build something and then bring it to market. This came
Right.
because customers said, we need this box, build it and we will buy it. So that's where it came from. Let me also give just a little bit of background on the T1M, because I'm really happy that you pointed out on that solution. So if the listeners are not familiar, everybody knows the U.2 form factor. That's SSDs. So if you've held an SSD in your hand, that is a U.2 physical interface. And I think most people have seen our T1Us, and so they're very familiar with what that looks like. Everybody knows what a PCIe interface is, and there's different size cards. But, again, I think I don't have to explain that. The M.2 form factor may not be quite as well known, although I think everybody has seen it at some point, just maybe didn't know that's what it's called. It is a very, very compact, just 60 millimeters or 80 millimeters in length, very low profile heat sink. It only draws 10 watts. So, I mean, it sips power. And that little device can encode 20 simultaneous 1080p 30 broadcast quality streams, live streams, AV1, HEVC, or and it also can be and H.264 because you can mix the codecs. It also supports 4K P30. And if you need to double it, if you're doing live sports, you're like, oh, but we need P60. Then you just simply take those numbers and cut them in half, basically. It scales very linearly. So from a performance perspective, I think those are some specs that, people would be wanting to know, like, okay, great. But is this thing basically a cell phone encoder, or is this a real production, distribution broadcast quality encoder? And it's the latter for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned nobody likes a pitch, but I do want to emphasize one thing, and it ties into what we're saying here. So Advantech it's everything but another box builder. So we're
Mm,
we're ultimately a purpose-built appliance manufacturer. So
mm,
yeah, the QMS or the Quadra Mini Server is a perfect example where we're taking real customer feedback, what they need to plug in, what
mm,
they're trying to achieve, what's to the ground level, where do they want the solution deployed, right? We would customize
yeah.
the rack mount to make sure, if you need a power adapter on the right side of the unit or behind,
Mhm,
that kind of, solution is provided. So we have a finished product that is exactly addressing the issue. And I think that if you want to set Advantech apart, is that's how we build things. So we are
yeah.
not a typical top down. Let us design some boxes and let's try to shove them. There can either be an overkill or they can maybe lack some important features. We are exactly catered to. We have something that is pre concept or in design or maybe even in mass production, but we
Mm,
want to take that and design it to build to order what you exactly need. So that's
mm,
that's what Advantech is. But to add something to it, which is more important, is global deployment that you mentioned. So our solutions can be deployed anywhere in the world, can be accessed, can be serviced anywhere in the world. So Advantech is a global company. And what I said at the beginning, Advantech is an IPC manufacturer. So we are industrial, meaning long life. Everything that we design will be supported for minimum 5 to 7 years. Now,
mm,
we work a lot in the medical space, which is driving us as well to be longer than that. We have some products that have
mm,
been sustained for 15 years. And if
interesting.
you think about it, that's long.
Yeah.
Generally, if you build an appliance, let's say your processing unit, a CPU may drive your initial lifespan. Typically,
Yeah.
embedded CPUs are 10 years. Then beyond that, there's ways we can do what we can do to help sustain an exact BOM, so the customer doesn't have to go through recertification or
Mhm,
changing, and they're trying to sunset their products. Maybe they needed more time. We can do that. Speaking of what's happening in the market, we see DDR4 going end of life, and to be honest, a lot of our competitors are ending their appliances, saying, "Well, we're even though the DDR4 memory may be scarce or there's a very short life to it, Advantic will not end of life chassis or a box until the customer is ready to move on." And that's maybe
mhm,
something that we typically don't think about when everything is, great and we all have solutions and there's
mhm.
boxes in the field.
Yeah.
But when things change, and they do change, a
Yeah.
lot, sometimes
That's right.
abruptly, sometimes planned, Advantic is here to actually support the transition.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. Well, so important. You know, because you're working in the medical space, you've already referenced security and surveillance, obviously media and entertainment. I think you have an interesting vantage point of how systems are being built today. And I'm just curious, if you have any observations that you would like to share or that you can share with us about maybe some trends, even if people aren't yet executing in kind of a new direction. Like, does anything stand out in terms of where maybe future video workflows might be headed? How they're built and just the topology. Do you have any insights to share?
Yeah, we're, as I mentioned, we are very vertically driven. So, if you want to pinpoint how a specific market is moving, uh, we could talk about broadcasting, streaming. We could talk medical, but what is maybe a somewhat consensus is doing more processing on the edge. Right? So, edge
Mm-hmm.
computing is becoming the differentiator between a solution provider that may have a great applications in the cloud to a system provider that has a device that's in the field, and that can provide kind of a bit better access to the technology. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the edge video is being number one trend. AI, we can talk about it. I feel that it's becoming almost like a buzzword, because we're trying to achieve some sort of AI on the edge, and
Yeah.
maybe in video space there's a case that we talked about. Not kind of like AI, but it's more video analytics
Mm-hmm.
on the edge. So I could talk about maybe a specific case study that one of our colleagues has been worked on. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but it's basically, if you're thinking about remote production for live events, right? So if a customer needs to stream live video from a stadium to a private video cloud, and so the production team needs to access and edit the footage from different locations. So
Mm-hmm.
Advantech is, we build the hardware. So let's say, example, the Vega 6000 platform. But then the NETINT module, which is built into the hardware, um, helps us um, handle the channel density, right? So
Mm-hmm.
does this edge processing before the video is moved into the cloud. So, and I think we're one of the specific applications we're thinking about encoding more than 100 channels simultaneously, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of was this possible before? Maybe, but it cost a lot of money. It was a lot of hardware needed for it. Now we're looking at cloud based live
Yeah.
video sports production as a kind of in a cost effective way with low latency. So
Yeah.
that would be a,
Yeah.
a great game changer, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think my observation is it's fascinating because I can recall going to industry conferences. Back around 2000, 13, 14, 15, so more than 10 years ago, and there was a lot of talk, a lot of papers, a lot of presentations around that time of this concept of just in time encoding and transcoding. And obviously the concept is very easy to understand. Rather than creating your adaptive bitrate ladder, which is for most parts of the world, that is how we stream and deliver video and do it so that someone on a slower network connection can still have a decent experience. In other words, they don't have as much bandwidth, so we just send them a lower resolution file. Everybody understands that. But so there was this concept, a lot of papers, a lot of presentations. There were companies that were presenting their solutions where you basically would distribute a mezzanine or your kind of your highest quality profile over the network, and then at the edge you would transcode in real time for that device. Um, Very
Right.
easy to understand. It's easy to kind of dream and say, "Wow, that would be amazing," because literally I could create a custom profile for any number, in theory, an unlimited number of devices, because all I'm doing is loading a parameter file.
Right.
I'm giving it, okay, I want this resolution, I want to use this codec, I want this frame rate, I want this color space, in other words, all those parameters. And if I've got the software or the hardware at the edge, I can literally have a custom version that's perfectly suited to my device that could be different a little bit or different a lot than what Dom receives, because he has different requirements based on either the network, his device, etc. The problem was that 10 years ago, there were hardware solutions, but they were not really purpose built. The quality wasn't there. There was a whole lot of challenges. Software was just too expensive. So a lot of interesting research, but no implementation. We now fast forward 10 years, and now we are seeing as the CDN has transformed from basically a caching network to a computing network. And different commercial CDNs are in different phases of rolling this out. But just look, for example, at our partner Akamai, what Akamai is doing. And it's very clear to see that, the CDN is, yes, caching is still a major function of the CDN, but compute is really front and center, computing right on the network at the edge of where the CDN is going. Well, now for the first time, you now have compute sitting at the edge of the network that's available. And with VPU, now you don't have that cost hurdle. And all of a sudden, it unlocks this really amazing new approach,
Right.
which has been talked about for 10 years. Like I say, I remember vividly because I was very interested. I've been working in this space for many, many years. And it just made sense to me. But of course, the obvious question was, well, how can you do it cost effectively? Now you can. And this is something that this whole idea of the edge. Maybe there's some folks that have a little fatigue because it's been talked about for many years. You know, it's been tried, and for the reasons I just stated, didn't work out, or was only really possible in very limited deployments. But now, if anybody's listening to this and saying, okay, edge, we've been talking about the edge for years and the edge never really has materialized, so why are you guys so excited? um, don't sleep on this one would be
Right.
my advice. And
Right.
I'll 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 also make this observation. Um, you know, really suggest staying on top of the tech blogs of all the major streaming services. Amazon Prime publishes pretty regularly, talking about what they're building, what they're doing, what they're deploying, some of their technology choices. Obviously, Netflix has a very active tech blog. Really, I think that most of the major streaming services, have an active tech blog. Highly recommend going back and refreshing what all of these companies are talking about, especially Netflix. And you don't have to do a whole lot of reading to realize that all of these companies, these great companies that many of us would love to be able to deliver their quality at their scale, and to do what they do. um, this is what they are building. They are
Right.
building different variations. They each have their own approach. But you really, when you read the blog, their video infrastructure is moving to the edge. It is being pushed to the edge. And if you don't have VPU, it's going to be very, very, very difficult
Right.
to really pull it off. So,
Right. I think we can agree. We will see more and more applications, and we will not be trying to driving them. We will be
yeah,
accommodating them with a
that's right.
solution. I think
I like
when you
that angle.
mentioned
Yeah.
streaming
Not driving,
companies,
we're accommodating. Yeah.
yeah, I think another great example is OTT streaming companies doing video quality inspection. Right,
Oh,
they need
yeah.
to ingest many different formats. They need to
Mm-hmm.
monitor for issues,
Mm-hmm.
check encoding consistency before
Mm-hmm.
delivering content to users, right? So with NetInt, we can enable them to transcode many channels in real time,
Mm-hmm.
while customized system can provide video outputs for live monitoring or visualization. So this basically, again, an application where an OTT streaming company can see and analyze multiple video streams at once, which is very important for QA, right? Compliance, or just great user experience. So it's a very simple application in a way, but again, it's utilizing Edge to deliver quality,
Yeah.
compliance, and user experience.
Yeah. 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 Amazing. Well, I really appreciate our collaboration and partnership. And I would be completely remiss if I didn't point out that for any listeners who are going to be at IBC, which, by the way, is coming up in just like five, yeah, 6 weeks, I guess. Yeah, in fact, actually 6 weeks. In fact, 6 weeks today. Well, today's Thursday, but Friday. Basically from tomorrow in 6 weeks is the start of IBC. Advantech will be in the NetInt VPU ecosystem booth, along with 7 other companies. So it's going to be quite busy and real exciting. We're going to be showcasing the Quadra Mini Server, and of course, Advantech will be there to talk about other solutions that they have that might be of interest or relevance, to media and
Right.
entertainment, video delivery.
Yeah, I think it's great to mention. So, you know, the purpose of all of this is to drive the thought leadership and drive
Yeah,
the awareness of where the industry is heading and what solutions are there. So I think
yeah,
IBC will be a perfect example. Advantech and NetInt will be collaborating. We will be joined together in a big booth at the show. We will
mhm,
present some of our existing solutions, like the Quadra Mini Server. But more importantly, we're going to be there to listen. What is the application that is going in the direction where we can
yeah.
provide some solutions around it. And I think we are all excited to be there. We're excited to talk to real customers, and kind of marry our solutions into a final product.
Yeah, I love it. We are NetInt is customer centric. You're customer centric. Like without that real time feedback, that real world requirements gathering. Certainly, I'll speak for us. The VPU would not be where it is today. And so trade shows and events like IBC are just phenomenal opportunities to be able to talk to the market, listen to the market, everything you just said. So yeah, we see it the same way. So Dom, Advantech is a big company. Where can people go in the media and entertainment space to learn about what you do and more about the products that you make specifically for the applications we've been discussing?
Well, that's a great question. So, as I mentioned, Advantech is a global company. So, we have a footprint in Europe, North America, Asia. And we also are very active online. So, if you go on our website, advantech.com, or if you look at our LinkedIn profile, there's always some marketing material that may provide some inform- general information what we're doing. But I would suggest reach out either if you have a local salesperson, or if you don't, you can reach out by our general contact. We have a ton of information that is in our roadmap that is not available publicly. So if you're an engineer, or if you're a product manager that you're thinking of a product, don't try to find it on our website. As I mentioned, we don't build cookie cutter systems. You may find something that will give you a general idea of what we can build, but find your product team or local sales team. They will introduce you to a whole roadmap of products that are in design and you can maybe leverage to build your solution.
Yeah, that's great. And obviously, go to netint.com. We have a page for the Quadra Mini Server. That is a product that we sell directly to the market. So if somebody just if that's a good fit for you, there's different configurations. You can get information there. But yeah, well, this is great. Well, Dom, thank you again for joining us. It was a great conversation, and I really do look forward to seeing you in 6 weeks in Amsterdam. We're going to have a good time talking video and enjoying some, you know, just some conversation, about the industry and about what all's happening and talking to customers. So, thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. It was really a pleasure. You guys are phenomenally organized. I think this provides some good information to the audience, and I look forward to talking more at IBC.
Awesome. Thank you. And to the listeners, we really do appreciate you. Without listening to voices of video, well, we'd be talking to ourselves and that would be a little boring, not as fun. So thank you for joining us. Be safe, be well. And I do hope to see you all in Amsterdam at IBC.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.